everybody, welcome to Before College TV Live. We are here today with two students from St. Scholastica. We've got a student from the University of Minnesota, and we've got a grad student from the University of Chicago who completed her undergraduate degree at Augsburg. I believe that's you, Davida. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You are coming to us from Chicago. I'm in Chicago, although I'm in the suburbs and you're in Hyde Park.
Mhm.
How are you adjusting to life in Chicago, Davida?
Honestly, it's been rough. It's been a little rough.
Oh,
I am like away from like my friends that like I made like during like undergrad. And like with COVID and everything, it's like a little bit of like more isolation than I thought it would be. But besides that, I think everything is going well. Like my roommates here are really great.
yeah.
I met up with like my cohort. They're pretty cool too. So
That's cool. Well, I'm sorry to hear it's been a little lonely. I think everybody gets a little lonely. And I know being away from home is really hard. Some of you have stayed local, some of you have gone away from home. And that's going to be something I really want to talk about today. But what I want to get started with is I'm just going to I'm going to go big. And Ian, I'm going to start with you. All right.
All
So
right.
get ready for this, Ian. All right. So I want to know, man, I want to know, what is your dream? What's your dream job? What is your dream life?
Oh boy.
Give me like a big dreamy, and I know we're going right there, man. We're starting off big.
Perfect. I'd start with lotto winner, but I don't know if that's really sustainable. So I guess right now my dream is to start with job. I guess that's a little bit easier. Next summer I'm going back to a financial service firm called Chartwell, and what I was really excited about doing there is it's kind of like evaluation work, and you work with a lot of small businesses, especially businesses that are employee owned. So I guess what I've really related to with their mission is you're kind of working for the little guy instead of some big CEO and adding to his bonus check or something like that. Um, and honestly, it seems really fulfilling. I had a great internship, and
Yeah.
I really want to do work that I get significance from. I do want the bank account to grow, but I want to come home and have pride in what I did and what I'm accomplishing. Um, in terms of the dream life, I think that's kind of the key.
Yeah.
Stay doing something I like.
Yeah, that's great. Do you see a little love in your life? Do you see, do you want to get married? Do you want to have some kids? I mean, we'll look back at this in, 15, 20 years and we'll be able to reflect. Have you thought about that part of your life too? I know I'm really
Uh,
going big.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I really look forward to the day. Hopefully having a wife that keeps me in line and deals with my crap, and getting to be a dad. I think I've got a lot of maturing to do before that day. To be totally
Yeah.
honest,
It's a
my dad's a
ridiculous.
pretty great guy. He's a lot more mature than I am, so I've got a little ways to grow. But yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
thank you for opening up and sharing that. I know, asking you if you want to be a dad, and but you looks like you've thought about that. That's cool. So you want to get a job. That's your dream, doing something that aligns with you in a meaningful way.
Absolutely.
And that's exciting 'cause you're a senior at the University of Minnesota, and you're from Duluth originally, correct? Or where are you
Yep.
from originally?
Technically, I've lived in Duluth, but I grew up in Two Harbors, which is a small tourist town off the shore. So it kind of depends how I'm feeling, which one I claim, or which one
Right.
claims me.
Right, but that's the area. Cool. All right,
Absolutely.
well, we're going to learn more about you, Ian. Alanna,
Yeah.
I know I said your name wrong in the beginning before when we were warming up, and now I'm all scared because your name's important to me because, it's like when someone calls you by the wrong name, does that happen to you? Do you get called by the wrong name a lot?
Like every day.
Oh, isn't that and
Yeah.
is it infuriating?
I'm used to it now. I just kind of answer to anything. But when I was younger, I'd get really frustrated.
Right, because you're Alanna.
Yeah.
You're not Alana. You are Alanna.
Yep.
Alanna, so you are a sophomore at College of St Scholastica, and you have a dream. And I want to know, Alanna, what is your dream?
So my dream is to work with children somehow. So my major right now is educational studies and my minor is psychology. So my thought, not for sure, is to be a child advocate. But Scholastica doesn't have the program, but so I'm taking like classes that should cover it.
Okay.
And if that doesn't work out, probably an elementary teacher. And then hopefully have a family and get married and have a nice big house and stuff. But That'll be a while.
That's all right. Where do you want that house to be and with all the stuff?
I really like Duluth
Hmm.
because I'm from a little town 2 hours north of here, so, like, Duluth's, like, the perfect size.
You're from Orr, Minnesota,
Yep.
Hmm.
and you're a graduate of Northwoods High School. How many
Mhm.
people were in your grad? Well, you know what? We're gonna get to that. I don't want to
Okay.
go down that path because I want to start. I get so excited, but I want to start with the dream. You know, Kirsten, you seem like you're ready. Kirsten, I know you have a dream. I know there's something that excites you. I know there's a reason that you're working so hard in college. What, Kirsten, is your dream?
So my dream is to become a CPS worker,
CPS worker, and that would be
a
what
child protect
CPS.
a child protection service worker.
Gotcha. I know what that is. But for other people who didn't know, I wanted to make sure that they knew. And why is it your dream to be a CPS worker?
I don't know, like I always I don't know, like I read books when I was younger and I don't know, just like the stories that children go through. It's just like kind of like it breaks my heart and I don't know, like I just want to take those children like away from those situations and just be able to help them no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, it's a beautiful thing to be in people's corner who really need it and to give them the love that they don't always get from other places. And it's sounds like an amazing dream. Davida, I don't
Mhm.
think I know we started talking about, like, Chicago and how it is, but you dodged the dream because I didn't ask you about your dream,
Mhm.
but I'm so curious knowing you are now at the University of Chicago, you're working in your graduate degree, you finished, from I think it was Augsburg, you said, which is a great place, a small liberal arts school in where's Augsburg?
Augsburg is in Minneapolis.
Right,
Mhm.
and so you've been, living your dream, it sounds like, so what else is there? What's the rest of the dream, Davida?
I would say overall, I am just like working towards obviously finishing my graduate degree, which I'll be done in June. But overall, I do like have like a passion with like working with like juveniles. And like I think it would be really cool if like I were like in a position like in an incarceration facilities, like kind of just like revamping like the whole prison system. I think that'd be that I think that's like for me.
Ooh, that sounds great, and what's cool is, Kirsten, you are a little bit, um, you're a little bit newer in the process, earlier in the process is the right word, so the path that Davita's on, if it's not your path, you might be able to somehow work in the prison system or with the juveniles that she's working with. I don't know if you've thought about this or if you knew this. Do you know Davida?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, this is great. So, Davida, if Kirsten has questions about any of the things you've done and going to grad school, continuing with your service, working with the criminal justice system, are you open to talking more with Kirsten?
Yeah, of course, for
You
sure.
you won't ignore her.
No, definitely not.
Okay, you're not just saying that here because we're here.
I'm
Like
not
you're
just
really
saying that.
and if there's anybody else watching this who's interested in the things that you're doing, and I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I want to learn about all of you, but I love that you're in grad school and you're in a graduate program at the University of Chicago, which is, if people don't know the University of Chicago, I'm gonna like really puff you up a little bit. But like, I mean, the University of Chicago is one of the top universities in the country. It's world renowned, and it is a remarkable place. It's really so selective. It's something that I think a lot of people would think of going to and being like, "Oh, I don't think I could get in there. I don't know. That's just not me." I want to know. I want to know how you got there, but I don't want to know right now. We're going to keep people in suspense. What I want to know is a little bit about all of you, because when I do these, I think it's really important for people who are watching and listening to be able to identify in some way. And I think the best way to do this is to go back to Orr, Minnesota, Alanna. I'd like to go back to Orr. I'd like to go back to Northwoods High School. And I would like you to describe you. If you were to just, give a quick description of, who is Alanna? Is she an athlete? Is she shy? Is she rebellious? Is she getting into trouble a lot? Is she super social? Is she, who is Alanna? Describe yourself in the most stereotypical, contrived way.
So I'm from the sticks, pretty much. So my town's of 300 people. Um, the school Northwoods got made when I was in 5th grade, so it combined like 3 little towns. But until 5th grade, I was in Orr school, and I only had 5 kids in my class. So I was always the outgoing one of my class, and the one that like played all the sports and did everything because I don't know, I socialized with everybody and I was friends with everybody and I knew everybody. And then we combined like to Northwoods, and I became a lot less social because there's so many more kids. But I still ended up playing basketball and softball throughout high school.
Yeah.
Um, I went hunting and fishing, stuff like that. But yeah.
Do you have siblings?
I have a 5-year-old sister and a 22-year-old sister.
Okay, cool. And then when it comes to your home life, and you can share as much or as little, is it with your parents? Are you with grandparents? Are there, what are the dynamics?
Yep, so I grew up with my parents, and then the past year and a half I lived with my grandma.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
cool. All right. Well, it's helpful. And, any insight, any of your backstory, because I know there's a lot of students with lots of different stories and situations. And the idea that you're here, you are all here, and you got through whatever it was is something that's really powerful. And, just have a ton of respect for. So if there's anything you want to add, please feel free to include those details. Kirsten, we're going to go to, I don't want to, is it Cloquet?
Okay.
I should have just gone with the cloquet. I should practice this before because it makes it seem like I don't know you that well, but I don't know you that well, and that's okay that I don't know you that well because I'm learning. Okay, so Cloquet Senior High School.
I live in Renshaw, Minnesota, and I
Okay,
went to Renshaw for a few years, and then I switched due to being bullied and everything.
okay,
So I went to Cloquet, which is 2 towns over, and then I finished high school there.
gotcha. Okay, so that sounds like it was a challenging experience, especially starting off in Renshaw and then finishing at Cloquet. So could you describe you? How about like give us a little bit of a snapshot of freshman, sophomore you before you transferred and maybe junior, senior you, so we can kind of get a sense of your past.
Yeah, so when I was at Renshaw, I played volleyball, I did cheerleading. I guess I was like very outgoing. I knew everyone in my grade, the grade above. Um, I was just really, I guess, talkative there more. Um, and then when I switched schools, I became the quiet one. I became the one that people didn't want to like kind of go up to because they thought I was like really mean. Um, but I didn't play any sports or anything there, so I just kind of went there, did my school, and just left.
So I would think it's interesting because I was expecting your first school to be the one where you were kind of quiet and having, being more isolated, and the second school being like more out there. So why was that? What are you comfortable sharing what happened at the first school and then to the second school? And if you're not, I'm cool with that too.
Yeah. So I guess the first one, like I've been there for a few years, and it's so small. I think the graduating class is normally like less than 20. So you automatically know everyone in the town, which is so amazing. You just get to know like their whole family. You see each other like at a grocery store. You'd be like, oh yeah, I remember you from like 5 years ago. And so it's just like really knit. So I was able to like kind of bond with a lot of people. And then when it got to my freshman year in high school,
Mhm.
these girls, because we opened it from being not just Renshaw, like we opened it to like Duluth and everywhere. So Duluth people started coming in and everything. And so then some girls, just weren't happy. they were picking on my friend and everything. So I stepped in. I was like, don't do that. Like, that's not cool and everything. And then it kind of like switched to me. And
Mhm.
then my friend didn't stand up for me. So it kind of just happened like that. And then I just had to switch schools because I wasn't going to deal with it.
Yeah, was it just were you not wanting to go to school? Were you skipping school? Was it just so miserable? Were you like just depressed going to school? Like how did you how did you get to the point where then you needed to switch and what was involved with that?
So I love school. I always was there every day. Never skipped. Even when that was happening, I didn't want to skip. Um, the thing that hit me was when they kind of there was like 8 girls and they quartered me in a corner and they were basically going to fight me. And that was like kind of my breaking point. And I was like, okay, I'm not coming no more. And I talked to my parents and they said, okay, well, that was your last day.
Mhm.
So,
And then you just left and that was very that's I mean it's really hard. I can't imagine how painful that would be to have to move and leave your whole community. Um, did you ever, in terms of advocating, I don't want to spend too much time, but if somebody's being bullied and they're in that situation, because there's a lot of people who are bullied and don't know what to do, what advice would you have for somebody in that situation?
I would just say to like stand up for yourself, talk to a grown up. Even if it's like you can't talk to anyone at school because people at my school kind of they couldn't pick sides. So just tell like your parents or something because they can really help you or a friend's parents. They help too, and it's just make sure you get heard.
Right,
Um,
right. So telling somebody, and then the solution, because the school wasn't able to fix it, it sounds like, to make it safe or comfortable for you. And is that kind of what happened, that then you had to just leave,
yeah,
right? You tried to work with the school, but
yeah,
it wasn't, but it just didn't work.
yeah. It didn't work. It would just be like we have to be on separate sides of the school or something. It wasn't good for either of us.
Right, right. So you went to a different place. Okay. Well, that's a hard thing to have in your background. And then you transferred or went to a different school, which is where you then went on this path to then go to college, which is really cool and exciting. And I want to talk about all your college paths. Ian, so take me back to Two Harbors High School. Describe who is Ian.
Oh boy. Okay. I think especially looking back, if I really look at my high school experience, it really kind of revolved around athletics and extracurriculars, and everything came after that. For those that don't know, 2 hours is pretty small too. I guess not as small as some of these, but my graduating class was like 109, I think, and we were the largest class by far. Usually it's around 80, 90. Um, but yeah, then sports were kind of my thing and what I focused on, and I wasn't anywhere near amazing. I was a pretty average athlete, but a little faster than some. And I think there was definitely a shield, for lack of a better word, because if you were part of the sports community and you contributed, it was like you always had a support system that might not be there for you as a person, but was there for you as the athlete. Um, and so I guess I was really fortunate not to really be on the receiving side of bullying or things like that in the traditional sense. But I know a lot of my identity there was wrapped in who I was as a football player or basketball player or how fast I was in track. Um, I felt like I was really had to be doing something, and like resume building from the time I was little. So
Yeah.
I tried to stay involved in student council and honor society. DECA was a really big thing for me, and it's a co-curricular business and marketing thing where you can travel and compete. But I guess I was trying to always stay busy. I like to learn things, so I tried everything, and I overexerted myself quite often, and my quality suffered for that. But I think in general was a kid who really wanted to stay busy and meet people and challenge myself, whether that was academically or athletically.
Yeah.
I do remember playing Northwoods a couple of times, and we got beat like 100-20. So those are not
Really?
glory days.
Right. So Northwoods is pretty good.
Yeah, they were phenomenal.
Really? I wonder if was that Alanna, did you well, you probably wouldn't play
No,
Ian.
I was actually a football manager, so I do remember those games.
Oh, I guess I was mentioning basketball. I don't think we put him in football,
Yeah,
but basketball it was brutal sometimes.
Right. So you'd always get beat.
yeah, they're still really good.
So that's the Northwoods. That's where the athletes are. Cool. That's very helpful. A good description, because I'm really going to be curious to know when you got to the U, having done all of these things, that kind of being a big fish
Yeah.
in a small pond. I'll be curious to hear what happened, because I know that's a huge transition. So if I don't ask you that, remind me, because I want other people to understand what that feels like.
Absolutely.
Davida, so take me back to, I'm not, should I say that you went to Duluth? You're from Duluth. You went to Duluth East High School. Is that
Mhm.
right?
I did.
Cool. So you've lived in Duluth your whole life. Is that right?
Yeah, I was actually I was born in Chicago, Illinois, but yeah, I grew up in Duluth,
So Duluth is,
Minnesota.
that's where it all went down, or most of
Yep.
it happened. So give me a little bit of a flavor of who Davida was in high school, what you did, who you hung out with, what your activities were. Just again, that really stereotypical, like, this is who I was.
Yeah. Honestly, I was like a very, very shy student. I feel like I was like always like super, super quiet in my classes. To be honest, I don't think I hung out with my friends like much like outside of school. I guess like I was like the kind of student like where I just like went home like straight after school. So to be honest, I did not have like the busiest social life in high school.
Right.
Yeah. I guess that's how it was. I did like play an orchestra in high school though. I
Okay.
guess that's kind of important, but yeah.
So
Um,
you'd spend what instrument?
I played viola.
Play viola. Do you do
Yeah.
that well?
Yeah, I had played for like 7 years by the time I graduated.
Right. But
Yeah.
most of your stuff was just, you just were studying. You were working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was yeah, like every weekend I worked
What job?
I was a housekeeper at the Edge Hotel and Water Park. But by the time I graduated, I was like promoted to a floor manager. So like I did like the inspecting of the rooms.
Much easier, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So cleaning those rooms, that must have been interesting at times.
Yeah, it sucked. It was not the best job. But my family was like low income, so whatever I could do to like help to kind of like to like help with like finances, like I
Yeah.
was down for doing it.
Yeah. So when you would get paid, that money would go to, not just like, would you give that check to the family?
It would depend. Like I would, like I'd be able to like keep like most of my checks like most of the time. If my parents like ever like needed anything though, I wouldn't hesitate to like offer them my check.
Yeah, that's very kind, and a lot to do. So you're super busy. So you were working, and you're going to school, and
Hmm.
I want to know about this whole college thing, because you all are successful, incredibly successful. No matter what you think of yourself right now, like, whatever it is, you're all going to get through it, and you're amazing. I want to understand, Davida, when did you start to think about going to college, and what was the biggest obstacle when you started to think, can I even go? So take me through your college, just the seed, and how you were able to then make it actually happen.
Yeah. To be honest, I never thought that I would go to college. Like it's like not something I ever thought about like before. I guess like especially before like joining like Upward Bound, that's not something I really thought about. I like remember like first like talking about college like when I told my friend like yeah my parents would be very upset if I didn't graduate high school, and then my friend was like, oh, my parents would be upset if I didn't like graduate college with like a PhD. And I was like, wow, that's like not something that I ever like thought about. But yeah, Upward Bound, like they helped me a lot, like applying to like colleges. The biggest barrier by far though is just obviously like finances, like just like figuring out like how I was going to pay for college, because I knew that like I wasn't going to have like that financial support from my parents, and like I would never want to like put that financial burden on them, because like they had like my siblings at home still even after I had like went away to college. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah,
So you're coming from a home where did your parents go to college? Are they college grads?
they are not. No.
Yeah, so the idea of going to college isn't really something that was tossed around a lot.
Mm-mm.
And when this friend said that, my parents said if I don't get my PhD, then, I haven't really succeeded.
Hmm.
That friend, was that someone who you stayed close with throughout high school?
No,
You like
no,
got away? What
no.
happened to the friendship? You
I don't know. It just like it kind of just stopped. I don't think there's like any like bad blood between
Right,
us.
right,
It just kind of stopped. That was like early on in high school, so like we kind of just like took our different paths as like we
right.
went on.
And
Yeah.
then you got involved. Did Upward Bound recruit you? Did you apply for Upward Bound? Because I'm really interested in, like, how do you go from that place of not even knowing or thinking about college to all of a sudden, you know, pursuing a graduate degree at the University of Chicago? I mean, it's a crazy trip,
Hmm.
which is
Um.
expensive, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's one of the most expensive universities in the country.
It is.
That's what
Yeah.
they advertise. But and also I'm sure, you're probably not paying the sticker price.
No. No, I'm not.
Probably paying
No.
almost nothing, I would imagine.
Kinda.
Right, it's a beautiful
Yeah.
thing. Right,
Yeah.
like it's not costing your parents probably anything, right?
Mhm.
This is beautiful, right, like, and
Mhm.
I'm getting, like, all excited and dramatic because I think that when so many people are in middle school and in high school, they hear about college or their families hear about college, and they think it's so expensive, how could I possibly go? Because I'm son from a low-income family, and it ends up that being from a low-income family is what makes it possible for you to get so much, right?
Mhm.
Like that low-income label, which is a label, as at is that do you get comfortable using that to be able to then help yourself, or is it something that doesn't sit right and feel like how does that feel and how do you work with that?
Yeah, it was like definitely like something that was like uncomfortable at first. Because like obviously like on paper, like my family is like very low income, but like I feel like I've never had to like want for anything. Like I feel like all like my needs like growing up are like met. Like my parents are great. But like you said, like that can be like used to like your benefit to like get like more funds and like to get like more opportunities like for like scholarships. So I'm definitely like I'm definitely like a promoter of using one of those like labels to like further yourself and like your education.
Yeah. Well, it's really exciting to hear where you've gone, and I want to hear about everybody's college experience of how they chose the schools. Just because we're talking, I want to ask you one more question about you. So you were a senior, and then you decided to go to Augsburg. How did that come up, and what other schools were you interested in?
I was like not like gonna stay in Duluth. Like that was like absolutely out of the question. I think I applied to like one school there, but it was because like one of my advisors like was like forcing me to apply there. But yeah, I was like never gonna like stay in Duluth, but I just like thought that Augsburg was like a perfect fit for me. Like it was like a small university, but it's like in the middle like of like a pretty big city. And it's like a very, very diverse school. It had like more people that looked like me, and that's like something that like I struggled with like when I was in like Duluth. So it was more about like being like comfortable like when I went away to college. Um, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, and did you get a scholarship? Did they
Hmm.
help you out?
Yeah, I got at Augsburg, I got all of my tuition covered. The only expenses that I had to pay was room and board.
And how do you manage to pay for that? Because that could be like thousands of dollars.
Yeah. I was a Page Scholar as well, and then so once I had that scholarship, I think it was only like a 2,000 like excess that I had to pay. And for that, I just worked.
Nice. And that's how
Yeah.
you got right. So you pretty much were able to go to college with like probably little or no debt, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's exciting. And as much as you want to share later in the conversation about finding people who look like you and finding people who you can connect with, if there are other students who come from similar backgrounds, just how to navigate that path, coming from a community where you definitely aren't in the majority. And in terms of gender, I didn't ask everybody their pronouns. I usually do that to start off, but what are your pronouns?
My pronouns are she, her, hers.
Okay, so also on top of that, being a female, identifying as a
Mhm.
female, dealing, you got it all, you got like everything stacked against you,
Mhm.
which is remarkable and exciting. All right. So let's see. Alanna, I feel like you really are ready. I feel like you really want to share. I just get that sense that you want to tell me, when did you start thinking of college, and how did you get here? How did you get to St. Scholastica? So tell me your college journey.
So basically for me, I didn't think about college until I was in Upward Bound, and I only applied for Upward Bound because one of my friends was in it, and she told me that I had to. So I applied for it, and then I told my advisor, Steph, I was like, "There's no way I'm going to college. Like, I don't want to." And eventually, I was like, "Yeah, I really want to go to college." And then I think it was about my senior year, I was really, really motivated to go to college because I did PSCO through the community college by me. And yeah, I don't know. I was
What's PSEL?
so basically it's like going to college in high school and your high school pretty much pays for it. So I did online classes through Masabi.
That's amazing. So you totally didn't want to go. Why were you so against this whole college thing, and what turned you?
Um, I think I was just young and dumb, and I thought I could live my life in the little town of Orr without having to go to college. I honestly have no clue, but I think the thing that motivated me the most was knowing like where I was like with learning wise because going to Masabi, I thought it was easier than my high school because I took college classes in high school too. And I thought the community college was way easier. So I was like, okay, college will be a breeze, which it's not. But
Right,
I
right,
thought that at the time.
right. But you had this confidence, this surge of
Yeah.
confidence that said that you can do this. And when it came to applying to schools, what was the biggest challenge for you?
Um, I wanted to be able to come home because of my little sister. So I applied for UMD and Scholastica, both in Duluth, and then I applied for Bemidji because at the time I wanted to go to school to be a teacher, and Bemidji has a really good teaching program. But then it all ended up coming down to like cost, and thankfully I got everything paid for at Scholastica. So
Nice.
that's the main reason I chose Scholastica.
Tuition, room and board, like everything, the full
Mhm.
thing? Wow. And how did that happen? Did you do really well in high school? Did you win the lotto?
I wish.
Right? Ian's
um,
lotto.
so I just applied for every scholarship I could. Like that's all I did senior year is apply for scholarships, and I got
Really? Like,
yeah.
do you remember, where did you get all the information to apply to all these scholarships? How did you know what to apply to?
So my upward bound advisor helped me a lot. She pretty much just laid everything down that I could apply for at Scholastica. And then my high school advisor was really nice, and she pretty much told all of us the scholarships that we could apply for. So I just did everything I could.
What's the biggest one you got?
Um, well, Scholastica gave me the Benedictine scholarship, which is 25,000 a year.
Wow. And you got that, did you get it because of your grades? Did you get it because you interviewed? Like,
The grades, yeah.
the grades, and what was your GPA in high school?
I think it was like a 3.8.
3.8, so you did pretty well. And did you test well too?
No, I actually got a 17 on my ACT, which is trash. But
Yeah.
Scholastica let us do where you could either choose your ACT score or you could write an essay. So I wrote an essay because I knew I wouldn't get as much money
Wow.
if I chose
That
an
is so
ACT.
cool. Thanks for sharing
Mhm.
your grade, because I think a lot of people, like, that's incredible that you had such a high GPA, but you just
Mhm.
didn't test well. Like, do you know why you had such a hard time on your ACT?
I took it 3 times and got a 17 every time, and it
Oh
was
my
super
god.
embarrassing for me because I know I'm really smart, but I've been such a bad tester since I was little, and I knew that it was gonna be important for college, so I freaked myself out the whole
Mm.
time. So I second guessed every question I answered.
So you just get, like, super anxious?
Mhm.
Yeah, and when you test now in college, you still get anxious and work yourself
Um,
up?
Not as bad because most of my classes are things I'm really interested in, so I'm confident
Yeah.
with what I'm doing, whereas the ACT, I didn't study I did study, but not as much as I probably could have,
Right,
and
but
I'm not really into
yeah.
it.
Well, I think it's really comforting for other people to hear, that you could do a really, you can get a not great score. Let's just acknowledge
Yeah.
it's not the best score, okay? But yet you could be exceptional and get a scholarship for over 20. I'm like dropping stuff. I'm so like to get a scholarship for over $25,000. That's wild. Do you remember the littlest scholarship, like the smallest one you got?
I got like a $250 one.
What was that for?
It was like a memorial scholarship at my high school.
Oh, that's so nice. This is
Mhm.
great. Oh man. So it's exciting. It's like you weren't going to go to college and you decided you're going to go. Upward Bound really helped you. Scholarship, 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 scholarship. Kirsten, do you have a favorite scholarship site? Do any of you have a favorite scholarship site that you like to look at? You were lucky because you had an advisor who would just give you the paperwork. So you got to find someone, or you got to find Alanna and I said right, Alanna.
Yep.
Yeah, you looked at me like, why do you say my name wrong again? But I didn't. I just said it really fast. Okay, so you're at St. Scholastica. You applied to Bemidji and St. Scholastica. St. Scholastica gave you more money. So you said, I'm going with St. Scholastica. You're going to be local. You're close by. You're about 2 hours from campus, right? So that's not so close,
Well,
right?
this
So,
is the closest four-year college,
yeah,
so
but that's still pretty far for you. I mean, that's 2 hours is it's a long walk. So you're like stuck there. Like you got to be there. So that'll be interesting. I'd love to hear more about that. Okay, let's see. Ian, I feel like you want to talk. Maybe Kirsten. I think Kirsten really wants to share. Kirsten, so tell me a little bit about, you're at St. Scholastica too, so it's kind of fun to do two St. Scholastica students back to back. So tell me, how did you come up with this whole college idea and how did you end up landing at St. Scholastica?
So I never thought I'd go to college. Um, and I think I was introduced to Upper Bound from a friend. Um, and this time I was at Renshaw, and then I applied, I got in. And then when I switched schools, I had to look at which had Upper Bound. And so then that's also why I chose COHEN, because then I had Upper Bound there still. And so then with Upper Bound really helped me because I knew I wanted to go to college. Like after they started talking about college, I really want to go to college. I love school. Um, it was just, I knew it was for me.
Wait, so
Um,
you didn't want to go, but then you did want to go. So
yes.
what made you go from not wanting to go wanting to go?
I think it was just like when my friend came talk to the class I was in, she started talking about how you can go to college and like they can help you because I knew nothing about college. I just knew people like there is colleges. That's all I knew because I was homeschooled.
Hmm.
So I didn't know anything about college or any other school. Um, so then when I got introduced to like the whole, oh, you can go to college and what college is, then that's really like, okay, that's what I want to do.
Right. So you were homeschooled through eighth grade?
So I was homeschooled from first grade to fifth grade.
Okay. And then you started to be around other people who started to talk about college. And then how did you hear about Upward Bound? And before you share that, could someone here explain what Upward Bound is for people who maybe aren't familiar with the program and what it is? Uh, just to give a quick description. Who wants to do that? Anybody can do that. Alanna, how about you?
Um, so basically, it's a program for mostly students that come from a low income family, or I'm trying to think of what were the other things. There's like certain requirements.
And yeah, you can, if anybody knows, yeah, Kirsten, jump on in, or anybody.
I think generally it was geared towards, it's a trio program, and it's geared towards encouraging people to go to college who might not otherwise. So I think that the two main things are kind of an either or. Generally, if your family qualifies for the low income side, or if you're also first generation, because generally statistics show those are the least likely people to see college as an option and go to it.
Great. So if anybody here is upward bound and they're thinking, I'd love to get involved, because it sounds like the constant for, we still have to hear your story, Ian, is that if it wasn't for upward bound and understanding what college is and that it's affordable and having people like handing you documents to sign and to like really holding your hand, it sounds like that was really just a really big difference in your lives, which is something I think it's very helpful for anybody who doesn't know about college or stumbles across this to be like, there are programs out there and they're really helpful and they're all over the country. And if it's not in your school, you could look and see, is there an upward bound program at a school close by? Because that could be the thing that can really help you to find people, access, money, all that stuff. So, Ian, tell me, I want to hear about your college planning experience, how you decided to go to college, how you ended up at the U.
Gotcha. I think so. I always had this idea that I wanted to go to college, but to me, college was like this abstract concept. So knowing where I wanted to go, what I wanted to study, where I was going to live, like none of that was real. But I was going to go to college, and um, I know Upward Bound, which we've all been here. So I always knew I was going to go, and I think I drove my advisor crazy because I was interested in everything. And when you take those tests to tell you what you're interested in and what you should do, I'd score super highly in everything just because I'd be like. So one of the challenges initially was I was really involved in a lot of stuff, and I wanted to study engineering and medicine and pre-med and business and law and political science, and I couldn't decide what I really wanted to look for. And my other struggle was where to go. So, like I said, it was kind of an abstract concept. But through Upward Bound, actually, after my freshman year, so for those that don't know, you'll meet with your advisor like once a month, or once a week, sorry, or once a month, sorry. And then you have a monthly event with everybody in Upward Bound called the Saturday session. And then during the summer, you'll actually come on to St. Scholastica and you'll live there for 5 weeks. And you'll take not quite college classes, but like a college environment. You live in the dorms, you eat there, you interact with people that probably don't go to your school or that you don't know, that are loosely associated with Upward Bound. And so you really get this pre-college experience. And through that interaction, actually, we drove down to Tennessee and had this trip, which was awesome. And we visited Vanderbilt. And I like kind of fell in love with that college. I didn't know what I was going to study there, but I thought it was so cool and it was so pretty. And like their gift shop was like in Barnes and Noble. So I bought a Vanderbilt shirt and I was just sure this is where I was going to go. And that was after our freshman year. So I got a little bit older and got to junior, senior year, sports became the central focus, kind of like I said. And I came into my senior year with very little decisions being made. And I started to got a little bit of interest to play sports at the college level. But all the places that offered, I didn't really love. And so I kind of came to this conflict of sports has been kind of my core identity for so long. And I can keep playing that, and I can get paid to play it essentially. But I'm also deciding that sports are going to own my life for my college years, and it's kind of going to limit where I'm going to go. And that was really difficult to decide. Do I want to go to this place because I can just keep playing sports? I can do track or I can do football. Or do I want to go so I can study something or get an education that I think might be, maybe better, maybe not. And so with my advisor, one of the things we talked about a lot was just, what are you interested in, or where can you get a generic education if you want, and then have the freedom to transfer to something else? And then how do we start this process? So my advisor, Nat, and I would sit there and we'd say, okay, let's look at these places. Let's see, you're thinking business. I came down to I wanted to do business. What places have an undergraduate business school? Which ones can you just get a generic, master's of business administration? How does that look at a smaller college, starting a community college, or going to a 4-year? And at the end, I kind of came down to Augustana, which gave me a sports scholarship, and the U of M. And then I realized I knew I wanted business because I wanted that freedom to kind of explore in it. I wasn't sure what exactly business major-wise. And I honestly, the very last day, I deferred everything, and I kind of had to decide, I think my education would be a little better at the University of Minnesota. I like the opportunities of being in a big city. It's going to be a lot more diverse. I'm going to see a lot of people that might not look like me growing up, and I want that exposure. But sports were on the other hand. And so I kind of finally came to that decision where sports were great, and I was really blessed to have that experience. But that's, for lack of a better word, time to grow up. And I'm deciding that at this point, I think my education could be better at the U, and that's the direction I wanted to go.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a pretty agonizing experience for you.
Yeah, I waited to the very last day, like the last minute, to totally
Really?
decide, which was not advisable. But
Yeah, and at that last minute, you decided that you were not gonna go. You were given a scholarship, is that what you said? You
yeah,
also,
I had a couple of athletic scholarship offers, and
what
actually, I
division?
think I went against the grain in the group, but I would have been totally free at the other place in terms of all the scholarships.
Right.
Whereas at the U, I still had some out of pocket at the end of every year, um, and that was hard, especially
Yeah.
yeah,
So giving up the scholarship, actually having to pay and going to a place where, you're gonna have a very different experience. I mean, how many tens of thousands of people? Is what, 30 plus
yeah.
thousand people?
I think our total is like 50K.
Yeah, so you're going from a big fish in a really small pond to being a very little fish in a really big pond.
Very little.
So, and then, yeah, I mean, and that's a huge transition leaving home, this place where you're probably like a hero, right?
I don't
Because,
know about
like,
that. I
yeah,
would say that was probably one of the advantages too. Um, like someone mentioned earlier, I didn't want to stay in Duluth, and a lot of my friends from high school had to do that, and they got to stay really tight. And I kind of regret that we didn't get to stay as tight, as lives kind of went different directions. But I think, if it is possible, I'd really advise people to really think about moving out. It's scary. It sucks. People that come from the cities and suburbs, their class of 2000 has 150 people going to the U, so they have connections. There's three other people in my school that went to the U, and we were all in totally different things. And like you said, in a population of 50K, you're spread.
yeah,
So there's isolation, and it's a new experience. But I truly think there's so much to learn about yourself that way, and you won't always face that unless you force yourself to. And I
yeah,
mean, I guess I have no regrets. I was really blessed to make the right decision, hopefully, but
yeah.
I really think getting out helped.
Leaving home is really scary. And I've talked to lots of students from lots of places, similar to Duluth. And I know Duluth. My aunt and uncle lived in Duluth for like 12 years. And my cousin went to high school. I don't know if she went to Duluth East or West. I don't know. Is there West?
No.
And she definitely didn't go to West. But she went to high school in Duluth. But leaving is really hard. Davida, how did you leave home? How were you able to manage that? And was there a time where you're like, I can't do this and I'm gonna quit? Tell me about that transition for you.
Um, Honestly, like when I left home, I honestly felt like I was ready because like I said, I just don't like Duluth. I feel like I've just like never felt that I could like fully be myself like while I was there. So like I was like totally ready to go. But I remember like the summer I left because like I had to go to school early because like I got it in like on this like full ride scholarship, so I had to start early. And we were like my dad and I we were in like the parking lot to like get like my stuff for like my dorm, and like I just like had on like this like full on like breakdown. And I texted like my upward bound advisor actually, and I was like, I don't think I can do this, like I don't know like if I should like be going to school here, like it's just like weird. And so yeah, like I definitely had like regrets. Like I always like had moments where I was like, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. But like as like a first generation student, like especially as like a black like first generation student, I feel like we have those moments like where like imposter syndrome is like real. Like we think that like we don't like belong in like these like places like where we have like been trained like we don't like belong. But like I say that like if you like are like a first generation student and like you're going to college for like the first time, you're the first person in your family, like you deserve it. Like you deserve like everything that like is coming to you. And like there's gonna be like 100 times like where you're gonna like feel like you don't belong or like you're not doing the right thing, but like you deserve to like be in that position, and like you deserve like to have like your spot at that school.
When was a time where you were faced with that crisis where you're like, I don't belong, and how how can I keep how can I keep going? And then who helped you through that? Can you give me a specific example of that?
Um, yeah, I like at Augsburg, I feel like I felt that definitely like a lot more like during like my freshman year because I don't know, there was just like a lot of times where I just didn't feel like smart enough, like especially like compared to like other people in my class. And I feel like my parents, they definitely helped me a lot whenever I was like, oh, I never actually meant it, but I was like, yeah, I'm gonna drop out this week. But like I never, like I said, like I never actually meant it. But they like pushed me through like college like a lot, even though like that's not something they ever had the opportunity to like have. Like they're like all for it. Like they're all for me being here. And like even now, like being in grad school, like at U Chicago, like I feel that a lot, like constantly. And yeah, they helped me a lot. Like they just like push me a lot. And like also like my friends from like undergrad, like I know that like I always like have them to like lean on to like keep me like push me through like whatever like struggles that like I may encounter like while I'm here.
Yeah. I think this is a good time to ask everybody the question, what was your most uncomfortable experience in college, and how did you get through it? And, Davida, let me just keep asking you that because I'm sure there's been a few of those. And I would love to hear like the specifics, the dirt of that time you failed, or it could be a relationship issue. I've had a lot of people who've been in long distance relationships that fell apart, and like that was the moment. Making friends, finding your way, dealing with just that transition. All right, I think I've stalled enough. I feel like you have it.
Yeah, like the relationship was like that's like never been like an issue for me. But I would say I don't know like what it is like or what like I was like going through like personally, but like I feel like during like sophomore year of like undergrad and like a part of like junior year, I was just like a very, very angry like person and like a very like sad person. And like I realized like a lot about myself. Like I have like this like anger problem where like it kind of just like would come out like at random times. And like it was for sure like the lowest like point of like my undergrad year just because like I could like sense and like feel that like my friends like just didn't like want to like be around me. Because like I would just like my mood swings would just like change like up and down like with like no warning.
Hmm.
Um but I guess like something that like changed that is like during like my junior year, like I got like this like opportunity to like study abroad, and like I feel like I just like came back like this completely different person. And like I just had like a completely like different like outlook on life and just like my emotions, like everything, like my personality just like changed completely. And like obviously not everyone is gonna have that opportunity to study abroad, but like for me, that's like where like everything changed.
Where'd you go?
I went to Cuernavaca, Mexico.
Wow. And was that something you had dreamed of doing, or did it just happen?
Yeah, it just happened. I had decided like early, like October or November that I was going, and like I left in at the end of December.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Hmm.
Going abroad, I mean, it's transformative, but it's interesting that your mood changed and you became, I thought maybe you would have, seen a therapist or, had
Yeah.
some, but it was
Yeah.
Mexico. Mexico
Hmm.
did it. Mexico, like you drained you of all your anger issues, and,
Yeah.
and you're able to work through that. Did you fail any classes? Like, did you have any academic struggles?
No, I didn't fail. There was like this one like point like during like undergrad where I did like one of my professors like accused me of like plagiarism.
Ooh.
It was like a very like stressful time. It was like my freshman year like writing class. I honestly just like had like no clue about like proper like citations or anything like that. And like so I did like get like in a big trouble for that. But like I feel like he was like a lot more lenient because like I was like a first year in college.
So
So I
you were
don't I
innocent.
yeah, I don't recommend doing that. Don't do
Right,
that. Yeah.
right. Just don't copy. How much?
Yeah.
What's the limit?
I don't know.
Like
I don't
one
know.
page, half a page?
Yeah, don't
All
do
right.
that.
Right, don't do that. All right. So your most uncomfortable experience and how you got through it. Kirsten, how about that? I think we might have an idea.
Um, I don't know. I mean, the one thing I would say for me personally was I was in a relationship, and it was a long-term relationship. Um, and we were just fighting a lot last year, my first year, because he didn't go to college and I did. And it was just a really learning experience for me and for him. And I was always busy. I had school, I had cheer, I had to volunteer, I had to work, I had my whole like week planned out. And it just really wasn't working with us. We'd fight all the time. And I was just focusing on myself because I needed to grow as a person. And it just came to terms that we were not going to work out, because I was moving forward with my education, and he really did not like that. So I knew that was a time where I had to separate myself from.
Yeah. Was that hard to do?
Um, it was at times because we were like best friends, and then we started dating. So like kind of like losing that kind of support a little bit really kind of was hard because I didn't have anyone to talk to.
Yeah. That's brutal. And I think a lot of people end up not breaking up, and they end up changing their course because they're so afraid of being alone, as opposed to really doing what they need to do to be independent and to be able to be self-reliant. Um, are you happy with the choice you made?
I am.
Yeah, that's. I was so afraid you're gonna be like, no, I'm not, because I never know you with you, Kirsten. Kirsten, I'm just not sure. But I'm glad. I'm glad, and I think that that's something. Love's a really powerful thing, and I wrote a book on dating as well. It's I've been obsessed with dating because I've been rejected most of my life, so I'm really good at rejection. I never understood how dating worked. And over the years, what I've seen is that the best couples are where two people can live independent lives where each of them are really excited and fulfilled. And being apart and being happy doesn't mean that you're in a bad relationship. It means you're actually in a really great relationship. And the problem is when one person's happy and one isn't. What happens next? And if that other person wants you to change so you're not as happy, then that's not a healthy relationship. And clearly just summing it up for anybody who's in that situation. And it's like you got to take care of you, because you are always going to be the person who you go to bed with at the end of the night, truly. And you got to love yourself. I mean, it's so important. Loving yourself is really hard. So anyway, all right, enough of that. It's interesting. Get all relationship oriented. Okay, Alanna, what was your most uncomfortable experience in college, and how did you get through it? Give me something good.
So I didn't. hmm, I don't know if it was really uncomfortable, but for me, I started. It's gonna be dating, so
Oh, good. We
really
love dating.
excited.
People love dating stuff.
So I dated a guy from 7th grade until my junior year, and we broke up. And I was like, I'm not gonna have a boyfriend. Like, I don't have any interest because I'm going to college. Well, when I went to Masabi my senior year, I met this guy, and he ended up deciding to go to UMB. So I was like, okay, like it could work out because we're both gonna be in Duluth. Like, we didn't make our plans for each other. We just met, and that's how it worked out. Well, the beginning of my freshman year, I stayed in a suite. So I had three other roommates plus myself, and I was never there. Like, never there. They didn't even know my name until a month in, like how to say it.
That's
And
why they said your name wrong, right?
yeah.
Because you weren't around. Right. Okay.
So we ended up breaking up in like March. And I realized I didn't make any friends in college because I was always with him whenever I didn't have class. Such a waste of time, and like wasted my whole freshman year, which is really disappointing. But I think that was probably the worst part.
Yeah, that's hard. How did you eventually make your friends? And I want to give you a framework to answer it. I like to talk about places. Places are where you sweat, play, pray, live, learn, lead, love, work. So places are where you sweat, play, pray, live, learn, lead, love, work. Clubs, activities, organizations, jobs, spiritual groups, those types of things, athletics. So where did you eventually make your friends? after you got out of this long-term relationship, or not long-term, but after you got out of this relationship?
So in the fall, I decided to play softball, so I was just a walk-on, and I made a lot of friends that way, but also, like, if it wasn't school or softball, like, I was at my boyfriend's house. But we always, like, had little, like, get-togethers as a team, so I ended up getting close to them, and I'm still close to them even though I'm not playing anymore. And then I was a part of a group called NASA, which is Native American Student Allies or something, and I made a lot of friends there. But besides that, I've kinda been on my own, and now I work for a nonprofit through the YMCA. So, like, I'm really good friends with, like, my boss and the other girls I work with.
Yeah, so those places, and it's always the places where you hang out. I mean, that's where you make
Mhm.
those friends, and when you're hanging out with your boyfriend, you're not gonna make a lot of other friends, but
Yeah.
thank goodness you had the softball. The
Yeah, yeah.
softball piece is great because, like,
Yep.
being on a team sport is the best. Ian, I can imagine what you dealt with being an athlete. I'm gonna call you a star athlete. You know, you were offered scholarships, man. Like, that's a star athlete, right? Um,
Can
that's
say
a big,
yes.
yeah, let's just, you're very humble, which is those
Mhm.
people who, yeah, the people who are so accomplished are the most humble. I've seen that. Like, so it really is remarkable, and it's fascinating that you decided not to do the scholarship and to go to the University of Minnesota, and then you went there, and your whole identity was changed because you were in a much larger community. What was your most uncomfortable experience that first year in college, and how did you get through that?
Um, so I think it would come to finding a place socially. Um, there's a really like famous video, and it's a girl in Stanford or from who went to Stanford for undergrad, and she did it for a class, but she talks about, college. I was told this is where I'm going to find my people, this is where I'm going to find myself, this is where I'm going to learn X, Y, and Z. Um, I'm a semester in, and I haven't found that yet. And what the heck is wrong with me? What's going on? Where's my best friend for life that I'm going to room with? Um, and so you know, for whatever reason, whether it's you have a relationship or ties in other places, I think really being present at the start of college was really important. I don't know if I did that as well. I had a great roommate, and we were pretty different people in a lot of ways. I'm so excited that he's still my friend, and it worked out beautifully, and we were random, so I had no clue. Um, but he started his career, and he got into Greek life, and he had a lot more active social life, I guess, than I did. And him and I were friends, but we also kind of developed our own groups. And sometimes it was, and I was still dating someone who went to my high school, was a year younger, but sometimes I don't think I was fully there. And right or wrong, you can always find your place, but especially those first, month or 6 weeks or a couple weeks, that's when everyone's trying to find a group, everyone's trying to find a friend, and it might not be a forever friend, but you want to find people to associate with. Um, and so if you do have something that it isn't bad, but is another influence, whether it's someone you're dating, you're spending time with them, or you're spending time talking to them, or you're maybe holding back because you're dating someone, so maybe you're not trying to seem funny or flirty or something like that. Um, so I remember kind of getting a couple weeks in and knowing people, and going to social events and everything, and that's kind of another discussion how much you want to get into that. But um, you feel like either you should have these people, you should have this roommate who's going to be your forever friend, and you should know that from the first day, or you should have these three people that have the exact same likes as you, and another group that have a different like that's identical, and you're going to have these groups, and it's going to be easy, and you're going to have so many people, and when you go home, you're going to talk about the 50 new friends you have, and maybe that's true. For me, it wasn't, and I went from having a lot of close friends and teammates, and DECA peers and things like that in high school, and going to college and saying I know a lot of people, and I've had some cool late night discussions at college, and we've gone to get beat ups at 3 o'clock in the morning, but I don't think I have someone right now that I can't wait to bring home to introduce to my high school friends or my parents. Um, so that's where I struggle. Where is this place? I should have this. Everyone's told me I'm going to have this. Everyone told me how great college is, and college is. It's awesome. I love it now. But I think having expectations, understanding that, and knowing, maybe if I would have been a little more present or said yes to going for this long walk when I had something the next morning, I think balancing that, being a student, being a college student, and being a human and having a social life was difficult for me. And I found myself where I'm like, I know people, but I don't feel like I have close friends yet. And that was kind of terrifying. I felt like I was doing it wrong.
When did you finally start to make friends, and how did you find them? Where were the places you found them?
Yeah, so I got involved with some student groups initially. Um, I think also that was a wake up call because I felt like there's a lot of people that are really opening, and I was like trying to get into like leadership, and I was like, okay, there's like politics here that I didn't expect. Um, just because it's a bigger environment. I think really though was the relationship didn't work out, just distance and everything, and kind of committing more to being like, all right, I'm gonna not worry less about school, but say yes to more stuff and say yes to more things socially, and go do this thing that I probably shouldn't waste time, and I should probably be studying, and I have an early class, I'm going to be really tired in that econ lecture. Um, but say yes, let's go get food, or just asking people across the hall, hey, you guys want to go hit the all cart right now, or are you walking to class? Let's go. I think, especially for people that I think a lot of my friends too, when they struggle to fit socially, they identify themselves as a student and they threw themselves into their studies and they focused and they made plans and they were at every lecture, which is awesome. And if that's you, and that was me at times, I think it's really great too. How do you use that? If you're really passionate about this class, maybe ask somebody, take a leap and say, hey, do you want to study together? Do you want to go to the library for 20 minutes? I think I just got a little more confident that I don't need to have it all figured out. My roommate was great. He was always quick to say, hey, here's my fraternal brothers, or here's this group that I know, like, let's come walk with us. Honestly, it's taking that chance and,
Yeah.
asking somebody, do you want to study, or do you want to go get ice cream, or do you want to go get food?
Ian, did you ever think of quitting or going home?
I think I realized that it would have been easier if I was at home, or if I went to UMD with a lot of my classmates, because I would have had that structure. Or if I just stayed as an athlete and went and took the scholarship and just focused on that, because then I know what I'm supposed to do. It's told to me. I don't have to find it. But I think part of it was just talking to my friends back home and talking to my friends there. And if something's hard, that usually means the whole tunnel analogy, like it's dark because you can't see it. It's cheesy, but I think it's really true. There's a lot of really great things, and getting through those kind of sketchy times at the start socially, now I appreciate so much more when, I go and grab a burger with a friend, or we meet before class, or now we're trying to jump on Zoom lectures because it's really awkward and weird.
Yeah.
I think when it's hard, you'll appreciate it more when it gets better.
Right.
Whether it's a teammate you found or whatnot. So, yeah.
Yeah. You chose a harder path because you were an athlete who had a place. And when you're on a team, you're accepted, and, people like you. And it's, usually an easier experience in all different ways. But it sounds like it was hard for you, and it took a good year. We say it took a good year for you to find your relationships, your friendships.
Yeah, I think part of it too was realizing that they were there too. Because, if you have an expectation of what it's going to be in your head, and then it's not that, and then you look and you realize, oh no, we're not buddy on Instagram, but he's hanging out in our room and we're chatting later, watching a football game together, something like that. Like, kind of taking those things and realizing what they're there for. Part of that's just struggling with your expectations of college, but I'd say it took the first semester. I'd say coming back after break was really nice because I realized the difference between college and home, and great things about both, and things I missed from college. So
Yeah. So being away from home, were you involved with, I think Davida, you got involved with Trio. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that also, Alanna, you mentioned the Native American group and organization. I don't know if you got involved with any group like that. I think the Pan African Student Union. Was that one of your? Oh, that was Davida. Right. That wouldn't make as much sense. Yeah, and if it could, who knows? People are very open and welcoming. That you don't have to identify as one thing or another to be part of a group or organization. So it could have been possible too. But Davida, can you speak to finding your places? It looks like you really were great at finding Trio. You found the Pan African Student Union. It says Campus Kitchen as well. The Summer Bridge program. Really finding something that's like upward bound. at least in terms of a community. And from what I heard from you, Ian, it's like, you didn't really find that community at first. And maybe it
Yeah.
was a relationship that limited you, or you weren't even planning, like, how am I going to find my places and people? But Davida, tell me how those places played a role in helping you to find your way.
Yeah, I would say I got really lucky because like I was like a part of like summer bridge. It's because of, like the scholarship that I got on. Like I made friends rather quickly, and like when everyone else like started college, like I had already like had like the start of like college experience. So like I had like already like had like made like friends, like a solid like friend group. But I would say that that's kind of like limiting in some way. Like it kind of made me feel like, oh, I don't really need to find like any new friends. Like I have like this like solid group right here. Um, but yeah, it was like overall it was like really great. Like having those friendships, I feel like we all just like went to like a lot of like student like events and like student organizations to like just like meet like other people as well. Um, and yeah, so and like also too like with trio, because like I was summer bridge, like I got into trio like automatically. So like I also like had like that community as well. And then being in like the social work department, I had like that community as well because like it is like a cohort. So like I already like I had like another community as well in that. And like also like I did like additional like volunteering like because like I'm a social work major, like during like my freshman year I had to like meet like this like certain amount of like hours for like volunteering. So like I had like another community like at like my volunteer like place.
Yeah.
So I definitely like feel like for me like I got like super lucky in that area where I feel like it happened like rather quickly for me.
Yeah. Well, it happened quickly, but I think there's so much intention involved with this. Like, you went to a smaller community, you found smaller communities, the summer programs. I don't know if Alanna or Kirsten or Ian, did you do any of like a summer bridge program or pre-orientation program? Like, I find when people do these pre-orientation programs, they're life changing. And for people who are watching this and listening, if you can't afford it, you can tell people, and they have money available. So if like if that's the thing that's going to keep you from doing it, then say something. Davida, was that part of your scholarship where you got to be part of the summer bridge?
Yeah, so because like I got like the full ride scholarship where I got all of like my tuition paid for. So that was like kind of like another like aspect of like the scholarship where I had to like go. I think I left like Duluth in like July, and like I started the program, and like that program went on for like 6 weeks, and like I had taken like two college courses. So yeah, that's kind of how it went down, and like I got credit for like those courses. Like it went towards like my actual like transcript for Augsburg.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so yeah, it really did work out.
Yeah, that's cool. So those programs are huge, and asking an advisor about that. And then when you get to go to these different programs and do these different activities, not only can you do well, you can find some love. Or I know, Alanna, your community college experience not only got you credits, but you met that really interesting person who was a part of your life, regrettably, or not regrettably. It
Oh,
just
for sure, regrettably.
I guess it is regrettably. Okay. See, it's like we do this enough. We tie it all together. It's like you can see how the stuff worked out. And Kirsten, not having a great roommate that freshman year is really isolating and hard, and pushes you to those relationships. But I'm a big fan of, your places. Where are your places? Let's do a quick speed round. In Atlanta, you had your places of softball and through the NASA group and YMCA. Ian, can you rattle off? I'm not going to ask you any follow-ups, but just like, where are the places where you've found your friends, your connection, your community to you?
Um, Rec Center, finance group, students in finance, and um, a mentorship program.
Mentorship program. And you end up playing sports at the rec center? Did you do like pickup games, club sports, things like that?
I did, but I was the worst on the court half the time, so that was humbling, but it was really fun.
Oh, I'm sure. See, you're like the guy. You were good. You probably kicked ass, and you're just saying, it's like if someone's going to give you a scholarship, you couldn't have sucked when you're on the court, right?
Uh,
You won't admit being good.
not on
You
the
just
court.
won't. It's just not going to happen. That's all right. I get it. I get it. Kirsten, your places. I know you cheer. Cheer was one of your places. Give me your places. You can start with cheer.
I had cheerleading, a different program in trio, math club, crochet and knitting, NASA, um, just a bunch of like just other clubs.
Yeah, knitting and crocheting. Did you crochet that sweater or knit it?
No, I bought it.
That would be pretty amazing, right? Do you have anything that you've knit or crocheted within arm's length that you can show us?
No, they're all at home.
Oh, okay, on display. Right. That's beautiful. Well, next time, maybe you can send me a picture with some of your best work. Okay. And then Davida, did we get your places?
I don't
Just
think
be,
so.
yeah, rattle them off for me. And then I just have like two more questions for you all, and then we'll start wrapping this up.
I would say PASU, Student Lounge, Open Gym at Augsburg, um, Girlfriends Group, and Campus Kitchen.
So these were your places: girlfriends group, campus kitchen. Those I
Yeah.
can't. I don't know about those.
Yeah. I like so like I had like started off like in this girlfriends group, and basically like it's like this Bible study. It wasn't really for me. So like I stopped going, but like the friends I made there, like they're great. Like so like it was like a good like opportunity for me like overall. And Campus Kitchen, basically like what I did there was I like prepared food, and like we went to like go serve it in like Ebenezer Tower and in Minneapolis. It's like where like older residents live. Yeah.
Nice. And you get
Yeah.
and I mean, you meet that's like a great experience where you get to
Yeah.
meet people and hang out. And with the Bible study, I'm always a big fan of spiritual groups, and I tell people, even if you're not into God or it just doesn't work with you, they're nice people and you usually get free food. Would you
Mhm.
agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Absolutely. Like those places. So I want to know, as just if you can give me some quick, I want to just do a couple speed rounds because I do want to respect your time, but I need to know about drugs and alcohol and partying.
Mhm.
And I need to know, you know, is college just this drunken debauchery, all out, just indulgent fest of just, absurd partying? Or uh, can you make a lot of other choices and still have a good experience? Davida, you seem like you have some strong feelings on this.
Yeah, I think you can make a lot of choices and like still like have like a very awesome like college experience. I know like for like some like certain people like maybe like drugs, partying, like that may be like the best part of college. But like for me personally, like I never like had to like do any of that stuff to like fit in or to like feel like I belong in like a certain place. I had like the best time in undergrad. And like I feel like that's just like a part of like who you surround yourself with. And I really think that can like make and break your like college experience.
Was it hard to say no or stay away? Did people
No,
pressure you?
I get pressured a lot, but I feel like I'm just like not somebody that like some like succumbs to like peer pressure. I'm just like not that person. I just like say no and like walk away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you had the
Yeah.
best time ever.
Yeah.
Right, that's great. Alanna, can you speak to that?
Yeah. So it all goes back to the boyfriend thing. So basically, my ex partied every weekend, did a whole lot of drugs all the time, and I just like I wasn't about it, but I'd always hang out with them because I didn't really have a friend group in Duluth yet. But it's definitely all who you surround yourself with because now I have friends that like study all weekend and I have friends that party all weekend. It's pretty much like you choose what you want to do. And for
Yeah,
me, like, I don't get peer pressured at all. I just, like, do what I wanna do.
yeah.
But, yeah.
So strategic of having the different groups, so, like, you always have options.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Because if you just have one group, you end up like, you didn't end up doing those things, but, like, if you don't hang, then, like, you're alone.
Yeah.
So but I think a lot of people end up doing that, but you're like, it just wasn't your thing. Cool.
Mhm.
Interesting. Ian, do you have anything to say about that?
Um, yeah, I'd say first, wherever you are, I think you can find it if you look for it. And also there's a reason people do it, and a lot of it can be really social, or it can be really fun, or it can hide insecurities or whatnot. My freshman year, I didn't do anything like that. And part of it was hard because like my roommate did, and he had so many cool stories and so many people to talk to. And I don't regret not doing that. But as I get older and when I do go to bars and stuff, it also can be fun. And um, people like to talk when they've had a beer or two or something like that, and it can be really social and it can be good. But again, those are decisions you're gonna have to make, and you know you can tell it's black and white or it's easy or not. But if you choose to pursue those paths, you have to understand that there can be consequences, there can be hard. Or if you can't control it, or you can't stay in moderation, you really are going to struggle. Or some people might be totally fine. I think a lot of it's knowing you and putting yourself in situations where you're going to succeed.
Yeah. Well, you all continue to pass, right? Like you haven't
Yeah.
you've been able to find balance and manage that. Kirsten, do you have anything to say about the party life in college?
Yeah, for me personally, that was not really for me. But I would hang out with friends who were going to a party or something, and I'll come with, and I decide not to drink or do drugs or anything. I just wanted to be there, socialize. Because you can do that, and definitely here, it's like you won't get in trouble for it. Like they understand kids want to socialize, so you don't need to be put into that position where you can be like, oh, my friends are drinking, I'm going to drink with them. Like you don't have to if you don't want to.
Right. And that's how you did it, and it worked out. You didn't feel it. So that's nice to know that you can make those choices. When it comes to the thing that you're most proud of, the thing that that really makes you feel good, an experience you had. I know, Davida, you talked about going abroad, and you might have another experience. I'm really curious. I want to know. I want to understand how you got to University of Chicago, and how that path unfolded, because it's such an interesting path. Um, so I might actually choose, like, I want if you could talk about that as the thing that you're really proud of, or that's exciting, and I'd love for you all to share something that really gives you a good sense. But explain to me, explain to me when you decided to go to grad school, and how the University of Chicago became the school that you ended up going to.
Yeah, honestly, like when like it was like time for like senior year to start, I didn't think that I was gonna go to like grad school right away. It kind of just happened. I started like applying to like schools. Actually, Portland State University was the only grad school I was gonna apply for, and like if I got into there, I would just go. Turns out I didn't even get into there. So I'm happy I applied to like other places. But yeah, I applied to U Chicago and I applied to St. Thomas. If I'm being like super honest, like I had like no idea, like I guess like how impressive like U Chicago was. I had no idea when I went. I actually found out like when I announced it on like social media, and like everybody was like telling me like how big of a deal it was.
Right.
But yeah, so it honestly like towards it ended, it came down to like U Chicago or St. Thomas. Those are the two I got accepted into. Um, I feel like I went with like U Chicago just because like for me, I feel like I do like things like on gut instinct, and like just like I have like this feeling about like what it is like I should be doing. And like for me, like I couldn't like confidently like go to like St. Thomas and like not regret going to like U Chicago. And like I feel like that's like kinda that's like kinda what like influenced my decision, even though it is like a very like pricey school. Like education is like something that I feel is like worth like my investment, and so like for me like it's worth it.
So do you actually have to pay some money to go?
Yeah, so I got a scholarship for about like a little over half
Okay.
from U Chicago. So I had like about, I can't remember how much I had like left to pay for, but then I applied to two more like scholarship. I applied like for like a scholarship for like the NASW scholarship, which is the social work organization.
Sure.
And then I applied for like this other like like pretty big scholarship that's like it's like catered towards like people that want to do like social justice work. And like so I got both of those.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, so and like the excess I had to pay like only I think it was like a little less than like 10,000.
Okay.
So that is what I have to take out in loans.
Right. You
But
know, I don't know if anybody else has loans, but especially being a first generation student, the idea of taking on debt is something that a lot of families really resist and don't want it at all. Clearly, in your situation, if you're graduating with $10,000 in loans, I mean that's something that's very manageable and will be very easy for you to be able to pay back. And it's an amazing investment in you. What advice do you have for other people who are looking at that, who come from families that maybe aren't as familiar and are faced with that choice of, do I go to this place and take out a loan, a smaller loan, or do I avoid that school and go somewhere else?
I would just suggest like doing like whatever like you think is best for you. Like everyone is different. Like what I decided might not have been like the choice that everyone would have made. Um, yeah, I would just overall, I would just like choose like what's best for you and like
Tell me
what
your
you
thought
think.
process. Why was it for you? Um, how was that comfortable? Just because I want people to understand just how you did the math and how you did the thinking, because I know it's something we don't talk a lot about. Everybody keeps that really, you know, tight, but I'd love to.
Yeah. Like, okay, to me, like personally, to an extent, I think like debt is good. I don't think that like it's like it should be like this like taboo thing that like you steer away from. Like, obviously, like you don't want like a ton of student debt. But like I feel like if you have like that little bit of like what like wiggle room and like you can like take on more student debt, I personally I suggest it. Like because like in the long run, if like you do completely your degree, I think everything is going to be worth it. And like you're going to be like in this place like where like you want to be in, and like you I feel like you wouldn't like have to like settle for like strictly like what like you can afford at the time. Um, so yeah, that was like kind of like my thought process.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting to hear, and it's a great investment in yourself, and you'll be able to manage. Do you know how much? Did you do the math of like how much it will cost you each month once you graduate?
No,
It's it's a
I
great
have
thing.
not.
It's a great thing to do. I mean, you'll see it's going to be quite reasonable. But
Hmm.
the most important thing for anybody who's listening is if you do take on any student debt, is you have to graduate. Like
Hmm.
someone I forget who said it, but they were saying that the most expensive student loans are the ones that you don't. Well, I'm butchering the quote. It's the most expensive ones are the ones that don't get your degree. Like you
Hmm.
got to get the degree because
Yeah.
it's an investment in you, and that's like key if you're going to take out any, because then otherwise it becomes too difficult to
Hmm.
pay that back. Okay, Ian, something you're really proud of, something that gives you a sense of joy. And Davida, here, I'm so like sloppy in my questions. Davida, is that what gives you a sense of joy? Is that cool? Is there anything
Yeah,
else?
that's
Okay,
good. Hmm.
all right, the grad school, awesome.
Hmm.
Ian, what's that thing that gives you a sense of joy?
Um, Honestly, looking back and being thankful for my experience. So, I might not have this huge plethora group of friends, or I might not have these crazy freshman stories that everyone has from college. Um, but I met a lot of great people. A lot of great people. I've gotten a lot of great experiences. Learned from very intelligent, very charismatic, very empathetic, very just awesome people, and kind of come to understand. I can't wait to start my job. I think there's a lot of benefits that the job will do. I think it's going to be nice to have a paycheck. I can't
Yeah,
wait for that'll bring. Um, but I also realize I'm walking away, and what I'm most excited about is, or what I'm most focused on is, I realize what's most important to me is, my character and my integrity and things like that. And so maybe it's not what I want it to be yet, but like having that realization is really nice because it puts everything in perspective for me. And yeah, I'm just proud that I came to that moment. I'm not
yeah.
proud of who I am yet, but I'm proud
Uh,
that I'm there.
yeah, I mean, you seem like you've had amazing experiences, and you're in a great place. You're a senior. It sounds like you're focused on getting a job. That's the thing. I get the
Well,
sense
I
like
have one now, so now I'm just trying to stay focused on school, to be totally honest.
awesome, right? You got to graduate so you can
Yeah.
actually get that job. Okay, cool. Kirsten, what's something that you look back at that gives you a sense of a real pride and a real sense of joy, an experience that you had in college?
Mine would just be being with the cheer team. Because my first year last year really kind of gave me a sense of who I am. I mean, I love cheering. I love just being there for other people and just doing little things for them. So, as our cheer team, that's what we do. We do it for everyone. And for me, and definitely this year being a cheer captain, and being able to go through these struggles with COVID and everything, with all these limits, really just makes me be a better person because it's just a new experience every single day. So,
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Alanna, what's something that gives you a sense of joy, an accomplishment, something that happened during your college experience?
So for me, I could actually graduate next fall, which is really exciting. But also, I don't know. Like, I don't really know if I want to start my life at 20 because I could go like right into whatever I want to do, which is really scary. but it also makes me really proud knowing that like I did like so much schooling up until now to where I could start my life at 20.
Yeah,
So
that's amazing. The very last question, and then I promise we're gonna wrap it up. If you could go back in time and we can see high school you, whether it's walking down the hall at Two Harbors High School or Duluth East or wherever it is you graduated from, you could see yourself and you can stop you and you can say, "Hey, Davida, I gotta tell you something. This is something you need to know." What is one piece of advice that you would tell high school you and why? Davida, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. Um, I don't know. I guess I would just like want to tell myself because like in the moment, like when I was in high school, I was like very like stressed out about like my future and like who I was like gonna be. So I guess like I would just like want to tell myself, like younger self, that like I'm like very proud of you for everything like you did and like everything that like you've wanted has like fell into place. And yeah, just to like not stress as much because everything like you wanted, like it's something that you've accomplished.
It's going to work out, right?
Yeah.
You just breathe. You could breathe. Kirsten, what would you tell you?
I would probably tell myself that um just to like never give up and just don't let anyone tell you what you can and can't do because you will accomplish whatever you put your mind to.
Yeah, awesome. Ian, what would you tell you if you can go back in time?
Um, I'd say leap in right away and really be patient with it too, which sounds kind of productive, but join those groups, ask people to go, put myself out there at the start, and not worry so much about being on the right track right away or having Instagram worthy friends or stories or anything like that. But put yourself out there and be patient. Good things will come. Keep working.
Yeah, awesome. Alanna, if you could tell you, what would you tell you?
I would tell myself to not be a people pleaser and do things for yourself because I was always that kid in high school that wanted like everybody to be happy before myself. So I like put myself out there for others when I really needed that one person, but I never had that.
And now you came to that place where you realize you got to do for you. Got
Yeah,
to
I
for you.
also relied on boyfriends a lot, which if I could go back, I would never have a boyfriend.
Ever, ever,
Not until I'm out of school.
right? Well,
Distraction.
right. But I also have to mention you're graduating. You're going to be 20 years old and you get to graduate. So somehow you manage the boys and
Yeah.
you were able to get things done.
Yeah.
Just to
I
give you a
also
little perspective.
I went to college in high school like to meet new people, not thinking anything of it. And my high school boyfriend really wasn't there that much. It was just like, "Oh, I'm dating you." Like, "Hi." Like not really caring or putting that much of an effort into it.
Yeah. Well, that whole piece we should do like a dating and relationship roundtable to help everybody in high school. Cause I feel like, there's no class on that, right? And you all have like you've got a lot of insight. So I appreciate that. We're going to wrap, we're pretty much done with our college conversation, but I always like to give all my panelists a chance to say, is there something you needed to clear up? Is there something when we're done with this conversation, you're going to say, I wish that I didn't say that, or I should have said that differently, or anything else? Do you think of anything? If you can, that's great. If you can't, that's great too. What I want while I put that out there, I want everyone who's watching to know, Alanna, Ian, Kirsten, Davida, if somebody has a question about anything you've talked about, I know you've given us some of your social media contact. Are you okay verbally? Are you okay with people reaching out to you?
Yes, I am.
Absolutely.
You sure? You're not just saying that.
I'm not just saying that.
Is it going to be weird if someone asks you a question?
No.
Yeah.
Not
You
at
want
all.
them to, right? You're like
Yeah.
kind people, right? Like this is
Mhm.
what you do. You want to help people. So anybody who's watching this, who wants to talk to any of these people, yes, yes, yes. Okay. And with that, I want to thank Alanna. I'd like to thank Kirsten, Ian, Davida, my panelists from the University of Minnesota, from the College of St Scholastica, from did I say that? Yeah, it's College of St Scholastica. I always get, yes, from the college. I'm going to make this cleaner. And with that, I want to thank all my panelists, Alanna and Kirsten and Ian and Davida from the University of Minnesota, from the College of St Scholastica, and then we have a grad student from the University of Chicago and Augsburg alum as well. Thank you, alum. What would it
Um,
be?
Alumni, I think.
Right? I get the alumna,
Alumni. Yeah.
alumnus.
Yeah, alumni. Sorry.
Someone's going to tell me I said it wrong, so I had to stop to be like, yeah, I know. All right. And with that, thank you, everybody, for joining us for this college conversation. I'm so grateful to have you all here. I'm so grateful for Upward Bound. And if anybody wants to reach out to any of these panelists, they want to help you. I want to help you. I'm grateful to be in your corner. I'm Harlan Cohen, and I look forward to continuing the conversation. Thanks, everybody.